guys, I'm Prisha Agarwal, and today I'm in conversation with Kofoworola Oyeleye, a social entrepreneur and the creator of award-winning Anilingo. Anilingo is a language study platform for children specific to African languages and cultures. She's the creative director and CEO at Iyin-Creative and is a fun learning enthusiast, a very passionate and hardworking leader. Welcome, Kofo. Thank you so much for coming.
Hi,
Hi.
thank you for having me.
So, how are you?
I'm fine, doing good.
Okay, awesome. So I want to know, first of all, um, it's really cool to see like all the things that you've achieved, but I wanted to know about your kind of journey to get to where you are now. Now that you're like the founder of Iyin-Creative, along with creating Anilingo, how did you get there? What was your journey?
Okay, so I created Iyin-Creative started because of Anilingo.
Okay.
Anilingo is the reason why we have Iyin-Creative now. Is like the house for Anilingo, and I created Anilingo specifically because of my daughter. So when I had my daughter, we moved to a different part of the country, and the part of the country where we moved to, they don't speak my native language. They speak a different language. And you know, when a child is in an environment where a language is spoken, it's easy for the child to learn. You know, you would pick up words and learn it easier. But being somewhere where it's not spoken at all, it was going to be a bit of a challenge. And even I, as a parent, growing up, my dad was always speaking English. My dad is like a British Nigerian man because he's very, very English. But my mom would speak our native language to us, and that's the reason why I understood. But because we were always speaking English at home, I understood our native language, but my pronunciations were really poor. So I knew I was not necessarily going to be in the best place to teach my daughter. I could teach her, but she would not learn it the perfect way, but I was going to teach her anyway. And then I realized there's this cartoon she loves. I don't want to mention the name, so it's not like advertisement for them, where the children are subtly taught Spanish. That was her favorite cartoon. And because of that cartoon, she was speaking words in Spanish, and there's no one in the house that speaks Spanish. So it occurred to me that if she can learn Spanish that no one around speaks so easily just by watching a cartoon, then I might as well just get her something in our native language. I searched online everywhere. I couldn't get anything. So I just decided to make something for her. And bear in mind, as at that time, I had no experience in animation, but I'm someone that if I want to try something, I believe I can always learn. So I had to go online. I watched instructional videos, and I tried out different software. This was something that went on over a couple of months till I found the one I was comfortable with, and I was just going to make something my daughter will watch at home. But during during the time when I was preparing content and researching how to create something that would be good for teaching, because it's one thing for you to have a cartoon, it's another for it to be a learning tool. I realized from speaking with people that it was not a problem I alone was having. It was a problem that a lot of parents faced, where there's somewhere where their language is not spoken, their children don't understand. And a lot of us speak English. Nigeria was colonized by the British. So we have an official language, which is English language. And in schools, English are spoken. Your native language is even discouraged in the learning place. So you'd find a lot of children not speaking their languages, because even when they get home, the parents don't want to speak it to them so that, as they say, they don't spoil their English. So over time, we have less and less people speaking our native languages. So it occurred to me that rather than just make something for my daughter alone, I could make something that all children will enjoy. And that's how Anilingo went from just being something for one little girl to something for children all over the world. That's where I got the concept from.
Wow, that's really beautiful. Okay, so this all started from you just like wanted to make something for your daughter, and then you just
Yeah.
expanded it into something that everybody could use. That's incredible.
Yeah.
Okay. And how did so you said that like you saw that other people needed this kind of utility in their life, this service. but how did you go about like expanding this thought that you had? How did you do that?
Okay, so as with most things that I do, when you have no experience in something, you have to take the time to learn about it properly, read as many books as you can, speak with people that have experience in it and all that. So that's how I initially started. Before we actually began animating, I spent like a year creating content. I created the content in English. Then I worked with educationists that were professionals in our native languages to translate it. Then I had to get voiceover artists that had the proper accents, not my kind of adulterated accent.
Mm-hmm.
And so we spent a lot of time. We had a test phase where we tried it out with different children. I had to also send out surveys to understand what the parents were looking for. So it was a very long process. And I started all that even before I knew how I was going to fund the project, because animation is really expensive. But you know how they say, is it fortune favors the prepared? I don't remember how that goes. But coincidentally, around that time, there was a call by the government for female entrepreneurs to submit business plans to get funding. So I created a business plan because now I had fully understood the concept, how I was going to go about it, how I was going to expand it and make it into a proper business, which was now going to be Iyin-Creative. So I prepared the business plan. I submitted for the competition and I was one of the women that were chosen. I got the grant, and so I was able to start the business fully and not just the bits and pieces that I was doing on the side.
Wow. Okay. So this seems like a really big, like long process. So you stayed determined that you wanted to get this out there, which was
Yeah.
okay. So I wanted to ask you what those kind of experiences in school, when you did business school, when you were in undergrad, how did that kind of shape you as the person that you are now? And in your what impact does that have in your current position? Because like I know you studied history and international relations, right? um
Yeah.
and then later you went to business school. So what was that kind of route and that journey?
Okay, so I studied into history and international relations. I love history. I love learning about people. I love learning about cultures. That's part of what I do. And I also love to relate with people. When I was younger, I wanted to be an ambassador. So I knew to be an ambassador, I needed to study international relations.
Mm-hmm.
But now, when I started the business, I realized I need to also get educated in. It's not enough for you to have an idea and then just start up. You need to get proper knowledge, or else you will end up just running a hobby that will not necessarily be sustainable. So if you know that you want to go the long haul, you want to grow a proper business that will be not just a local business, but a proper international business, you need to get the right knowledge. And that's why I went to business school. And I got the business school was also something. I was on a scholarship by the World Bank. They had a scholarship for female entrepreneurs, so I was already doing the work. I was reading up and all. So they sponsored a number of female entrepreneurs here in Nigeria to attend the Lagos Business School entrepreneurship program. And I was one of the women that attended. And the business school was really important because I just had the knowledge of um, someone wanting to do something. All I had was all I had read on my own and learned. But when you go to business school, you're able to meet with professionals. You learn from them. You learn how to do things properly. You learn how to get your finances right and your marketing and everything that you need to do. So that was why I went that route, because I realized it was something that was really important if I wanted my business to be sustainable. So that's how come I went from history and international relations to business school. And the impact it has on my work is like I said, I always wanted to be an ambassador. So while I'm not necessarily representing my country in another country, I'm representing my continent as a whole. I'm an ambassador for our cultures. I'm a cultural ambassador of some sorts. And I understand what it takes from my background to relate with people, the necessary approach to take when you're dealing with people, with cultures and all that. So my what I studied in school is part of me because it's something that I loved to do. And what I studied in business school has helped me in running the business beyond just an idea that a mom had.
Really cool. Yes, that's you're really an ambassador. You really represent the. I was so like I cannot tell you how taken aback I was. I was like, this is incredible what you did, and hearing the story behind it is even like more amazing because you spent the time and the dedication all through this, like all the hard work, and you got that product out there, which is incredible. Um, so you've already accomplished so much, but do you have any plans for the future for yourself and for your company, Anilingo?
Okay, so now the focus of our content now is on helping children understand the language, helping children understand the culture. But what we also plan on doing now, as part of our expansion rather, is promoting not just literacy, basic literacy, but also numeracy skills. In I don't know about in your country, but in my country, our education is the language of instruction is English. We don't have education in our native language. And that's part of what I want to push for. That's part of what I want to create content on. So now I'm not just looking at the children that speak English and want to learn our language, but I'm now looking at children that already speak our native language, but are in areas where they have either no access to education or access to poor education. So I'm trying to now we've already started work on that, but as with this, it's something that's long-term. There's a lot of work that goes into translating the curriculum into our native languages in the right form. So I'm going to be making learning resource, cartoons as well as illustrated books. But for now, children in areas where they have no access to education or access to very poor education. So you'd find that the quality of education they're getting is not adequate. So we want to reach those children. We want to give them education in a language that applies to them, in a language that they think in, not in a language that's foreign to them and they now struggle with school and schoolwork. So that's our primary goal. Of course, including more languages. Now we have a few languages. We're trying to get across the continent to, even if it's just the major language of each country, to get that and create content for that. So we will be creating content to help children learn those languages. But for Nigeria, we're now also creating content for children that already speak the language, but helping them access quality education.
That sounds very exciting. Okay, so lastly, what's your advice for the next generation of leaders?
Okay, my advice for them would be that in whatever you do, look beyond yourself. Whatever endeavor that you set out on, always have in mind the kind of impact you can make. Impact before profit. It's good to make money. Money is really important because you also need money to execute your projects. But when you're coming up with concepts, you should look around you and try to see in what way what it is you're doing can make a difference in your environment. That's the key advice that I have for them. And for people that have startups or want to start a business of their own, I just like to tell them that they shouldn't give up because it's not always easy. The road is not always smooth. Even when you get a grant, even when you get funding, it's never necessarily enough unless you get some major funding. So there'll be times when you have business plans and things don't go as you planned.
Mm-hmm.
You have to stick by it. If you're not, you projected you'd make $1 million, you don't make $1 million, you have to stand by it when it's rough and just keep doing what you're doing. You don't know who's watching. A lot of the big breaks we've had have been from people I had never known. They just came across my work and they saw what I was doing. So just keep being consistent in what you do and don't give up even when it gets really hard.
Very great advice. You're very inspiring, Kofo. Thank you so much for
Thank you.
doing this. I had a really great
Thank
time.
you for your time.
Yeah, thank
Thank
you.
you.
So
All
have a
right.
great day. Bye.
Bye. You too. Take care.
Take care.